Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1.
Hello and welcome to ForumIAS. These are the articles that we are going to see today. Their relevance for prelims and mains examination are given here. You can go through it. Now we'll move to the first article of the day. The first article is about IAS acquisition plans. So basically, Indian Air Force needs 114 multi-role fighter jets, and this procurement of 114 multi-role fighter jets will be done along with three different indigenous development programs. So one part of it is indigenous development, right? That is, we are developing in India, in our country itself. One is indigenous development and another aspect is procurement from foreign countries. So both of these things are happening. So actually, as of now, the strength of the Air Force is dwindling. If we are able to procure and develop some of the aircrafts, it will reduce the dwindling strength. That means it will improve the strength of the Indian Air Force. So for Indian Air Force, the sanctioned squadron strength is 42. But at present, only 31 squadrons are available. In this context, we have to know what is a squadron. So a squadron is commanded by a lieutenant colonel, and the size of a squadron can be from 30 to 500 personnel. Depending on the purpose, the size of the squadron also varies, and for each squadron there can be 18 to 24 aircrafts. So for a squadron there are two components. One is men and another one is aircraft. So what happens is, we have shortage of aircraft, and in order to raise the balanced squadrons, we need to procure multi-role fighter jets. Going on to the background, so why this need has arisen is MiG-21 is going to get phased out by 2025. So in the context of this phase out, we need to procure. But there has been a delay in procurement because our country is still exploring how much we can make, how much can we fulfill our demand through the Make in India campaign, and how much we can do localization, and how much we can upgrade the aircraft locally. These aspects are being explored. So that is why there is a delay in procurement. So what and all we are going to procure is, in the light combat aircraft category, Mk1A, under that 83 aircrafts are going to be procured. In light combat aircraft Mk2 category, we are going to procure some. And fifth generation, 5G here means fifth generation. In fifth generation, we are going to procure advanced medium combat aircraft. The problem with this is that it will take 10 to 12 years to develop. And after that, once we finalize the specifications and research on development, it will take at least 3 to 5 years to even begin production. So it has a larger gestation period. And this is also one of the problems in this regard. And apart from this, Indian Navy is looking for twin engine deck based fighter. A deck is the surface of the ship. So deck based fighter, they are also looking for that. So basically, twin engine deck based fighter is a version of AMCA. Right now we will see some pictures. This is light combat aircraft Mk1A. This is the advanced medium combat aircraft, and it's a fifth generation aircraft. Then this is for Indian Navy. This is the twin engine deck based fighter, and this is the MiG-29 Su-30 MKI, which is now the workhorse of Indian Air Force. So these are all the currently used variants. So let us move to the next article of the day. The next article is talking about the Nabam Rabia case. So Supreme Court is going to review its decision in the Nabam Rabia case. So the thing is that in the Nabam Rabia case, a speaker who is facing notice of removal, they cannot do the disqualification proceedings. So under 10th schedule, speaker sits as a tribunal. So under 10th schedule, speaker makes the decision, right? Speaker will make the decision as to who gets disqualified. So in the Nebam Rabia case, what it was ruled that the speaker who takes decision on disqualification under the 10th schedule, if he himself is facing a notice for removal, if he is undergoing the removal process, then he cannot sit as a judge, jury or tribunal for disqualification in 10th schedule, right? A judge can't be accused of something else. That is the logic behind this. And this viewpoint was taken by the Honorable Supreme Court in the Nabam Rabia case. But what is the issue with this judgment? We remember in January 2022, in Maharashtra, there was a power struggle, right? The Shinde government came into power. At that time, what happened was, if some of the legislatures, they are facing disqualification and their fate has to be decided by the speaker. So what they did was, these legislators who jumped the party, what they did was they gave a notice for removal of the speaker. Now, speaker himself is facing a notice for removal. According to Nebam Rabia case, he can't take decision under the 10th schedule. This was the problem that was happening. So, the constitutional provisions, the loopholes were being utilized. In this context, there is a need to review the Nebam Rabia judgment. Okay, so this is the news of the day. For this, we have to have some background knowledge. How is a speaker removed from office? So, the speaker removal is governed by Articles 94 and 96. So, basically, a speaker is removed by effective majority. But before this, there should be a mandatory notice of 14 days that must be given in order to move the resolution to remove the speaker. And this resolution must be passed by effective majority. So, what is effective majority? More than 50% of present and voting. That is the meaning of effective majority. So, this is the process for removal of the speaker. So, what happens in this case, that is in Nebam Rabia judgment is, so basically someone does defection. Okay, they jump the party. Okay, on them disqualification proceeding is initiated. In order to combat this, so these people who got defected, right, they issue notice to remove speaker. So this is how the legal loophole was utilized, because there is a condition for 14-day notice for the removal of the speaker. And we have to know something about the defection that is happening according to 10th schedule. Now, what is considered as defection? If an elected member voluntarily gives up, they have to give a public declaration that they give up the membership, and it is voluntarily give up. So if you remember, there was a legislator from Tamil Nadu. She did not voluntarily give up the party membership, but the party expelled her. In that case also, it is not defection. Unless and until this legislator voluntarily gives up, then it is not considered defection. Okay, and second thing is whip. There is the office of the whip. So the whip issues what are all the directions to be followed. So the whip will say you have to vote against a law or vote for the law, or you have to abstain from voting. All these things the whip will communicate to the members of that particular party who have become MP or MLA. So if you are going against the direction of whip, then also it is considered as defection. And if an independent is a candidate who gets elected not on behalf of a party, he is not a member of a party, so he gets elected as a independent member, and after getting elected he cannot join any party. And nominated member, we already know that 12 members are nominated to Rajya Sabha by the president. So if such nominated member, they have the option to join a political party within 6 months of becoming the MP. But after the 6 months, if they are joining any party, then also it is considered as defection. Another important thing about this 10th schedule is whether it is defection or not, the decision it is taken by the speaker. If the speaker is not there, then deputy speaker will take the decision. So in this we saw about the Nabam Rabia case, and we also saw the static part about how a speaker is removed and what is 10th schedule. Now we will move to the next article of the day. So the next article is about deep sea fishing. What happened was that Tamil Nadu government, they had banned the purse seiners. What are these purse seiners? So here representation of purse seiners are given. This is a purse seiner. It catches fish in bulk. So Tamil Nadu government had banned this purse seiners. So the fishermen from Tamil Nadu appealed to the court, and now Supreme Court has given permission for fishermen to go into the EEZ. What is EEZ? Exclusive Economic Zone. Exclusive Economic Zone, that is EEZ. Okay, so Supreme Court has given permission to fishermen to go into EEZ with these purse seiners. So before we delve into this particular article, we have to know what is EEZ, right? It is according to UN clause law. UN clause is United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. UN Convention on Law, this is Law of Seas. UN Convention on Law of Seas. So they have given this nomenclature. So this is the territorial sea. So it extends up to 12 nautical miles. Okay. So in land we measure distance in terms of kilometers or miles, right? In sea we measure the distance using nautical mile. Okay, I'll write it here, nautical mile. So from the baseline, that is the coastline, up to 12 nautical mile it is considered as territorial sea. From 12 nautical mile to 200 nautical mile, it is considered as EEZ, that is the exclusive economic zone, and beyond 200 meter, it is considered as the high seas. So basically, for legal purposes, this territorial sea, it is considered as the territory itself. It is considered as part of Indian territory itself. So in this territorial sea, a country can explore the seabed, whatever minerals are there in the seabed, they can do fishing in this territorial sea, they can do whatever, and it is practically territory only. In the exclusive economic zone, this is not a territory of the country, but a country has rights over the water column that is present and the seabed. So from this, they can utilize living as well as non-living resources in the EEZ. Common resource is the high sea. No country can lay claim to the high sea. So this is about the nomenclature. Now we'll move back into the article. So what happens is, we already saw what is UN clause and what is the EEZ. So in this EEZ, a coastal state, they can exploit the living as well as non-living resources, but they cannot over-exploit. But if we are doing this per sceners, what happens is they do bulk catching, and this might lead to over exploitation. That is the problem with these kind of per sceners. So what can be the solution? So there can be a solution for total allowable catch, and this should be based on scientific evidence. Say for example, 1 million ton is the total allowable catch. So beyond this 1 million ton, nobody can fish in this. So this number we have to arrive at based on scientific evidence. So if we are capping the amount of fish that can be caught, this is called as total allowable catch, and it will ensure sustainability. This is a measure that can be taken. But in this Supreme Court order, they have just restricted the time of use. It can be on Monday and Thursday from a specific time, morning to evening. That was the restriction, but this is not scientific. You have to measure what can be a permissible limit, and based on that limit should come, not an arbitrary restriction on time limit. So the method, not just restriction on time limit is required, method also should be regulated. The method with which they fish, this also should be regulated, right? So that is what the author is saying. So if we are doing this, then there will be sustainability of resources. So in this regard, what are the global practices? So globally, many countries are giving up the use of large scale pelagic nets. Pelagic nets are these sort of nets that is being phased out globally, and even in UN General Assembly, they have passed resolutions in 1989 and 1991. So this particular resolution, it bans or it lays down a moratorium, that is restriction on large scale pelagic drift net fishing in high seas. This sort of fishing is banned or kind of subjected to restriction in the high seas. So these are all the best practices followed. And another problem with this kind of fishing is the bycatch. So bycatch is, so basically these fish, they are all edible, and if some other fish comes into this, so say there is a starfish which gets caught, so it will die if it is fished, but we are not going to eat this fish. So unnecessarily it is getting caught in this net, and eventually this dead starfish, it will be thrown back into the water. So the problem is that many fishes which are caught like this, they can be endangered species. So this is the unwanted fish. It is called as bycatch. Often tortoises, turtles, they get, tortoises are bigger in size. Mostly turtles, the olive ridley, we have studied in environment section, right? They get caught in these kind of nets. Okay. And ultimately they are not going to be eaten, and they'll be thrown back into the water. So in US and all, they have a turtle excluder net. Even if there is a big net, these kind of bigger specimens than fishes, they would not get caught. So such kind of precautions can be taken. So these are the international best practices, and the author is saying that in India also this can be implemented. Alright, moving to the next article, it is about organ transplant. So earlier what was the criteria is that if a person who is aged beyond 65, they cannot receive organ transplant. But now this clause has been deleted. Even a person who is above the age of 65, they can also receive organ transplant. The earlier guideline that a person who is above the age of 65 cannot receive transplant was against the right to life. Even a person who is more than 65 years old, they also have the right to live. They also have family. So amendment has been made in the NATO guidelines. NATO is the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. We'll see about this NATO in the next slide, and this is the most important change that has been made to the NATO guideline. What else has been done is domicile requirement has been removed. Earlier what happens was, if you have received an organ in the state of, say, Maharashtra, you can't do the transplant in a hospital in Gujarat. You have to do transplant in Maharashtra only. This led to lot of cumbersome issues. So this domicile requirement also has been removed. Earlier, even in Gujarat hospitals, they require domicile certificate for performance of these kinds of surgeries, which was very much harmful if someone is fighting for life. So this domicile requirement is also removed. And second thing is, earlier there used to be almost 5,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees registration fees for requesting organ. Now this registration fees also has been removed. Why this kind of amendment is coming up is that from 2013 to 2022, actually the amount of transplants have become 3 times. So the demand is also increasing, and in this context the norms also should become easier. So that is why these changes have been made. Now we have to have some background information about organ transplant. So basically, a deceased donor who is a dead person, they can give kidneys, they can give pancreas, liver, lungs, heart and intestinal organs. But a living donor, they also have to live. They can give one kidney, only one kidney, and they can give a portion of the liver. So the liver, a portion of it can be given by a living donor, a portion of lung, intestine or pancreas. So this is the difference between deceased donor and living donor. In prelims this can be asked. It is very important from that perspective. So have a background information about this. And what do you mean by deceased donor? It is meaning that brain dead donor can donate organs. So brain dead, it does not mean vegetative state. Okay, it is a very big misconception. Brain death doesn't mean vegetative state. Actually, what has happened is brain dies, but heart continues to beat for few hours or even days, and after a point the heart will also stop beating. So it is not a vegetative state. So this is called as brain death. And if a brain dead donor donates organs, a single donor can save up to 9 lives, because one liver can be split into half and it can save 9 lives. So this is the importance of organ donation, and NATO is the nodal organization for this, and it was established through the Transplantation of Human Organs Amendment Act of 2011. So it is the apex center for procurement and distribution of organs, and it also maintains a registry of organs and tissue donation. They also create awareness, they promote organ donation, and they also coordinate the procurement of organs and tissues. So this is the role of NATO. And this NATO comes under Ministry of Health, obviously, and under that they come under the Directorate General of Health Services. So this is about the NATO. Moving to the next article of the day, it is about GST. So industry demanded to shift scrap metal. So scrap metal, most of the dealers who are dealing with this come from the informal sector. Now if some businessman is from informal sector, we can't expect them to go through the difficult process of GST registration and all. So there had been a demand from industry. So central government has also agreed to that demand, and they are going to place this demand before the GST Council, that the GST on scrap metal will come under reverse charge mechanism. So I'll explain this. So generally what happens, if we are buying a packet of chips and in that MRP will be written. So maybe the cost of MRP is 10 rupees say. In that the cost of chips is only 8 rupees. 2 rupees is the tax. So you give the entire 10 rupees to the shopkeeper. Okay. So the shopkeeper supplies this chips packet to you. So shopkeeper is the supplier here. Okay. He collects tax from you. This 2 rupees tax, this supplier collects from you and he will submit it to the government. This is how GST works. But what happens is, in case of reverse charge mechanism, what happens? Supplier doesn't pay or supplier doesn't collect tax and pay to the government. This doesn't happen. The buyer will send the tax to the government directly. So this is called as reverse charge mechanism, because normally the supplier will collect the tax from the buyer and they will submit it to the government. In reverse charge, this becomes reverse. The buyer will directly pay the tax to the government. So this is called as reverse charge, because the supplier can be a small scale businessman, right? The supplier can be in the informal sector. They don't have the registration for GST and all. So the buyer who buys scrap metal, say they are buying from a junkyard in, say for example, Daryaganj in Delhi, they are buying from a junkyard. So this buyer will be a company who are making bicycles. Okay, so a bicycle company is buying this scrap metal. Obviously, they will be having GST registration, right? So they will pay the GST instead of the supplier of goods. I hope it is clear. So why this kind of change is being made is it will give boost to the iron and steel sector, and recycling of scrap is also a green imperative. Recycling is very much good in the context of sustainability and climate change, right? So in order to give boost to this, we have to simplify the procedures. So this kind of impetus, a procedural easiness has been given to boost this sector. So now we have to know what is the structure of the GST Council. So the chairperson of GST Council is the Union Finance Minister, and one more member comes from the central government, who is the Minister of State for Finance. So in the current government, the chairperson is Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman and the other member is Anurag Thakur. He is the Minister of State for Finance. Then from the states, the state finance ministers will come from all the states, and the vice chairperson will be one of the state finance ministers. So this goes in rotation. So this is the structure of GST Council. Okay. So in this, center has 1/3 voting strength and states have 2/3 voting strength. So in order to agree on a decision, 3/4 majority is required. Okay, that is why it is written as 75% vote support here. So this is the structure and this is the procedure followed by the GST Council. Okay, so GST Council is governed by Article 279. So this GST Council makes recommendation to union and states which are all the goods that need to be subjected or exempted from GST, model GST laws. So this is basically a recommendatory body. Okay. So this reverse charge mechanism, what is the objective of it? It is to exempt a specific class of suppliers. Earlier we saw unorganized sector suppliers, they are exempted. And import of services will get taxed under reverse charge mechanism, to widening the scope of levy of tax. So these are all the reasons why the reverse charge mechanism is implemented. Okay, so in this article, important for prelims is the structure and voting strength of GST Council and the concept of reverse charge mechanism. Okay, so we have discussed articles. Now we will move to the MCQ. The first question is, which of the following products are outside the purview of GST? 1. Alcohol for human consumption. 2. Electricity. 3. Medicines. What is the correct option here? So alcohol is outside the purview of GST. Electricity is also outside the purview of GST. But medicines are inside the purview of GST. Medicines on medicines GST is imposed. So this would not come 1 and 2 only. So D is the correct answer. Next question. With reference to Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha, consider the following statements. 1. As per the rules of procedure and conduct of business in Lok Sabha, the election of Deputy Speaker shall be held on such date as the Speaker may fix. Yes, this is a correct statement. The Speaker decides the date of election of Deputy Speaker. There is a mandatory provision that the election of a candidate as Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha shall be from either the principal opposition party or the ruling party. So it's not a mandatory provision. It is not a mandatory provision. So this statement is wrong. Third statement. The Deputy Speaker has the same power of the Speaker when presiding over the sitting of the House, and no appeal lies against his rulings. Yes. So if there is no Speaker, if the Deputy Speaker is presiding, he has all the powers of the Speaker. Next statement. The well-established parliamentary practice regarding the appointment of Deputy Speaker is that the motion is moved by the Speaker and duly seconded by the Prime Minister. This is not a very well-established practice, so this statement is also wrong. So only 1 and 3 are correct and the answer here is A. Okay, so that is the end of our discussion. Follow us on all the social media platforms. This is Indumati signing off. Have a good day. Thank you.